Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Derek and Craig. We're going to talk a little bit about trashy sites today. Craig and I have gotten to the point where, well, I don't know about Craig, but with me, I've hunted so many of them in the past because, for lack of a better area or cleaner area to hunt, it's like mine a little on the trashy side, put it that way. With trashy sites, Craig, I don't know. I'm just looking on here, guys. I don't know what this NFL watch is, but somehow we're getting spammed on chat. First time I've seen that, so kind of ignore it. But I see Ohio Relic Hunter and Brandon on there already this morning. Gavin's on. Peter Beaufoy's on this morning. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. But at any rate, with trashy stuff, Craig, trashy sites, I've always liked them. I guess because I started hunting those right when I first started metal detecting, and I've gotten used to it. And some people, man, they just can't get their ear wrapped around it, or it becomes so busy with signals that it drives some people crazy. And I don't know, I've never had a problem with it. I mean, a couple times, but I mean, I've even heard you say in the past, when you were working a colonial site or something, and you didn't have the right settings and it was driving you nuts. But, settings have a lot to do with it. I mean, what do you think on that? Because you deal with it in your own yard even, as far as trash goes. Or we call it trash, but it's just iron bits and bobs and just a mixture of different metals and stuff that's been thrown away, canned slaw, that kind of thing. And probably like a park, Craig, would you say? I don't know. I don't even know if I got you on here, buddy. Yeah, we can't hear you. Your microphone's not working for some reason. Give me a call back, buddy. At any rate, no, I've worked a lot of them myself. Some places that I've had friends who actually want to leave. They just can't. They can't wrap their mind around what's going on and everything. But it's a lot of it. Yeah. All right, buddy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I don't know what happened with your microphone. It just wasn't working. You were still there, but we had that problem the other day. But I was I think you heard what I was saying and everything. I know you deal with your own yard as far as the trash goes, the iron bits and bobs, brass. I don't know. I like it because it shows activity. You don't have to search around for something. It's there, or at least you have a pretty good idea it's there. As far as older stuff, if you can get in between everything. I mean, what is your thoughts on it? Do you like it better than like hunting the woods or something like that?
Well, the first site I ever hunted was a World War II housing project, and it was a couple, maybe 4 blocks from my house, and it was just full of coins. But it was also it would gone from a World War II housing thing for people that were working on the torpedo factory down in Alexandria during World War II, and then it went into welfare. So it was just so much junk in the ground; it was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But I, started hunting the curb strips and up and down the sidewalks. I mean, up and down the front. There was all kinds of little yards all over the place, and it was like row houses. Some of them are brick, and then some are frame. And there was like a cul-de-sac with a ring of houses around it, and there was several common areas where, there was a basketball court, and there was a pathway that led between the houses, right down to this basketball court, and to the right of it was a place. It was like a little hill that sloped down to the basketball court, so it made a perfect place to watch the basketball games. And I was looking at it, and I thought, man, that'd be a perfect place for people to watch. And so I started running the detector over. Oh my God, it was like one swing I'd get like 3 or 4 hits. So yeah. I decided that I would start hunting it with high discrimination and just try to pick some stuff out. And so anyway, I started getting pennies and quarter, all kinds of modern change. And after an hour or so, I started hitting wheat pennies, and I think I got a silver ring, and but there was, and then I decided after the signal started slowing down, I moved the discriminator down to I was running about 9, and then I moved it down to 7, and I started going back over the spot again, and I started picking up zinc pennies and stuff that I didn't get before, and I started getting more wheat pennies, and I just kept going over the site, for like a week and a half, and I just go over there for an hour or so and hunt it, and then I'd kind of hunt around the rest of the housing project. But I'd start over there and just pick over it, and I eventually got down in the nickel range, and it was amazing how many buffalo nickels and silver nickels I found after I got But I dug so many pull tabs and lift tabs. There's a lot of screw caps in that on those heights. The like the quart bottle beer. The screw caps is a big 16. What was it? It is quart bottles of beer with a big cap on them.
Yeah,
man, those things sound good.
Yeah.
But in this little strip, it wasn't much bigger in my living room. I got a fairly big living room, but I dug 600 coins, in this spot. But I only got, I think, 7 silver coins out of the whole thing, and a couple of them were, war nickels. But it was interesting. I got, I started thinking, how many. About this masking, because I just started. I was in my first year of metal detecting, so it's kind of a learning experience, and I didn't have a lot of people that, tell me stuff. And there was another spot that came up, and they started bulldozing a couple years later, and up the hill from there was at the top of the hill on the other side of Quaker Lane was a fort, and I'd started finding Civil War bullets, and we'd found a bunch of 69 caliber minis right between these two row houses in just in the side yard, and we got in a big controversy because the police had come up there. I don't know why, but there was a couple women police that started hassling us, saying that they thought we were going into houses or something, and they were welfare, just trash houses, that nobody was there.
Right.
And so anyway, I tried to talk to them. I said, look, we're just finding that, I said, they're going to tear this whole place down, and we're just metal detecting, and, we're not going into houses. I said, if you looked in the house, I said, these people were welfare people. They didn't have anything. There's nothing in those houses. It's junk.
Right.
It's just,
they were getting by. I mean, that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
I said, if you look in the door, you wouldn't want to walk in there, And well, anyway, these two, they brought like 2 other cops in, and one of them was a supervisor. And so he had like a sharpshooter's badge. So I had like 2. I just walked up to him, and I had 2 69 caliber minis in my hand. I said, "Hey, check these out," and I dropped them in his hand. The guy's eyes popped out of his head, and he goes, "Are these Civil War bullets?" And I go, "Yeah." I said, "Those are the big ones. Those are 69 calibers." And he goes, "You found them here?" And I said, "Yeah, right between those 2 things." I said, "All we're doing is, we're not going into these houses or anything. I mean, we've been hunting up here for months."
Right.
Or actually about a year, and I said a lot of people come up here and metal detect, and, they're going to bulldoze this whole thing and put in a luxury townhomes, $2 million homes and stuff, but, I don't see any reason why we can't, look for coins and stuff, that's what we're doing. And I said, and he goes, "Well, why are these bullets here?" And I said, "Hey, if you go right up the street at the top of the hill, there's a historical marker that says, there was a fort there, and So he goes, "Oh yeah, I think I remember seeing that," And I said Alexander's got, was camped all over, So he went over and talked to the other two women cops and said, these guys aren't doing anything, just don't worry.
They didn't understand it. Yeah, I mean, it's why, I've had it happen too at one time or another. I mean, I hunt at weird hours of the day and night. I get insomnia and stuff like that, and I used to just like go in. I'm from a little town, small town, but there was certain spots that you don't like to hunt during the day because there's so much traffic and people bugging you and stuff like that when you're just trying to do some hunting. So I go into town there and there's the curbsides and stuff like that. I just it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm out there with a little LED light and pretty much hunting. You can hunt by street lights, is what it amounts to. And, finding some stuff, and all of a sudden, I'll get surrounded by cops. And, they're trying to do their job, because they get, even in our town, they get break-ins and stuff like that. And by the end of it, they're like, oh, man, it's pretty cool. You're finding some cool stuff and everything. He goes, can you move down to this place, so down here, and stay away from this row of buildings or whatever? Stuff. Oh, yeah, no problem. It annoys me because it's like I'm not really hurting anything. And I'm just, like hunting a park. We have a little park in town. And I've probably found about, $50 in change and stuff like that back when I was coin shooting. And, I go in there and, you're not supposed to be in here between dusk and dawn. And I'm like, God, you guys have never said anything before. He goes, I know, but we had a complaint. And it's always like people that don't understand what you're doing or whatever. I don't know. I've always had this thing. If you're busy minding your own business, you don't have time to mind mine. You know what I mean? I don't bother people unless they're trying to blow my house up or something. I don't care what you do on other people's property or whatever, or in public property, as long as you're not tearing up the place. But, sometimes you just, it's funny how you can make a friend and then, they'll either tell you to keep on going or move over because this guy doesn't like you or this woman doesn't like you over here. It gets frustrating.
I developed a strategy. I got a permit to do Arlington County parks, and I knew it was too good to be true. Almost,
yeah.
So one of my strategies, I started going to every park, and at the time I wasn't working, so I could go early in the day, actually, when people were at work.
Right.
And I didn't see a whole lot of people, but what I did was I started in the very back of the park, away from everybody, away from the street, and I'd hunt toward even though I had permission, I'd start back there and I'd hunt toward the road, or toward the street, and then that way, I could hunt without being seen or hassled with. But when you get closer to the street, people start seeing you and asking questions, and I'd always be real friendly and talk to the people, and
right,
basically show them a few things maybe, and say, I'm just looking for silver coins and wheat pennies and stuff, and say, I don't sell anything, and I have a permit, and a lot of times, people would want to see it, and I'd show it to them. It kind of. I had people, several times people would call police on me, or actually park ranger down at this one park. And I remember one time there was two of us hunting right around the parking lot. And we'd found Civil War bullets in this park and stuff. And we'd actually found a shooting range on the side of this hill. And it was just this one area, and there was just fired Civil War bullets all through the whole place. I mean, it was like we probably got a couple hundred each.
These target range.
Yeah, and there was anyway, we were hunting around the parking lot, and I'm down on the ground digging a plug, and all of a sudden the biggest shoe I've ever seen was right by my hand. I looked up, and there was this park ranger. He must have been 6'9",
Jeez.
And I was like, "Oh my God," And so he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" And so I said, "Oh, metal detecting for coins. And he goes, I'm not really sure you're supposed to, you're allowed to do this. And I said, well, I have a permit if you want to see it. And he goes, oh yeah, I like to see it. So he read it over and he goes, hey, that's fine. He said, actually, somebody called me, said, I don't know if those guys are supposed to be doing that, and I said, yeah, we get that all the time. I said,
yeah.
People think we're finding all kinds of stuff. And I said, we find a lot of junk, but we do find, cool coins every once in a while. But, it's not like, we're making it rich. It's just fun to do,
I always tell them that we're cleaning up the place because we are. I mean, I dig, a lot of the places I go, I had back in my pickup truck full of stuff, just like everything from doggone spikes, railroad spikes, plates. I mean, just all this steel and aluminum and copper and lead. I mean, lead like crazy. A couple of times I found like 20-pound chunks of lead in the ground. I said, this is what I'm digging up, guys. I mean, I'm not, if anything else, I'm cleaning up your property or cleaning up the public property. Well, Craig, that one place I was digging, it used to be an old gas station in town. And they're making that into a parking lot as we speak. I just saw it the other day. I was wondering what they were going to build there, but they tore down like 3 or 4 buildings. And I went in there, and man, I was digging alternators and fuel pumps, and it just became stupid trashy. I mean, when you get stuff that big, it's really difficult to, hunt any of the main parts of the property. Because you're just aluminum. A lot of the stuff is made out of cast aluminum, stuff like it's going to go set your detector off regardless. I mean, if it wasn't so hot, maybe, but I'd stay out there a little while longer because I think it was one of the oldest gas stations in town at one time, and we still have the old Texaco, which is now it was a tattoo parlor and everything else, but it stands alone on that corner now. And I've hunted that property and actually did really good. I found silver earrings and silver coins and jewelry and just everything you can think of. But across the street is where the other gas station was, and a barber shop and stuff. And some places you just can't get into. You just can't. Well, you can hunt it, but you're not going to really dig anything. You got to try though. And those kind of busy sites, I don't even know what you want. It's not even a trashy site. It's like a junkyard. And my brother-in-law had a place like that, and I found out it used to be an old auto junkyard. His property, it was on his property. I mean, we're talking 50 years ago, and there was nothing there anymore, but I was digging up brake pads and just every kind of piece of automotive junk you could think. I even dug a hood up. I mean, there's some places you're just not going to be able to detect. I usually try to, if I run into that kind of situation, I try to get to the outskirts of it, of that, the main part of the property, only because there may not be so much activity, as far as big junky parts and stuff like that, and you'll be able to detect it. There's only so much your when I was using a bliss tool, I mean, I can discriminate out a doggone axe head and still get a coin right near it. But when you're dealing with multiple targets that size, it's hard for most detectors to even get in there.
Well, it's also the power of the bliss tool. It's just, you almost want to lower the power on the machines, when
right.
you go into an area like that, because once you get all the surface stuff off the first 2 or 3 inches, then it's not too
so
bad.
But, right.
But God, there was a site at that Cameron Valley place that when they bulldozed kind of up high on the hill, there was a relic hunter named Charlie that I guess he was in his 60s at the time, and he'd been hunting for years, and he was using a whites, and he came over and showed me half a breastplate he just dug.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was all jealous. And it took me a couple more years to find my first plate, but I was like, dang, and so he said that he was putting the discriminator at 7 on the machine, so he wouldn't have to dig pull tabs, and he was digging anything that came back. He was getting bullets, and every once in a while a eagle coat button.
Right.
Using that. So I thought, man, I'm going to do that myself. So I put discriminator at 7 and started hunting up the hill from where he was hunting, where I was finding some stuff, and I got this. I remember I got a bullet, and I was all excited, and then I got a signal, real soft signal, right, kind of like 2 feet away, and I dug up this tiny little coin, and I was like, "What the heck is this thing? It looks like it's silver," and it had a star on it, and then on the back of it, it looked like a C with 3 slashes in it. Well, it turned out to be a silver 3-cent piece.
No, I've never found one of those myself. I've always wanted to.
I think I've got 15 of them.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. But the discriminator, like that coin actually read in a pull tab range, but because it was silver, it came back at in the 70s. With the discriminator at 7. So I used that to basically pick over the spot. But after I found that 3-cent piece, I'd lower the discriminator to nickel and just start digging everything, because you don't know what you're going to find there. But
yeah, well, I'm looking on here, and these guys, I was going to talk about it, right now, but like Yard Fact Diggers and Peter Beaufoy, the smaller coils. This is where you get into, instead of using a double D coil, if you have an option with your detector to get a smaller concentric coil. Remember, those are the cone-shaped signal. I call it the upside-down cone in the ground. The only thing, those work really, for me, they work really great in the trashy area. You can get these things pretty small. I had one from my White's machine, and it was the 5.3 from my White's machine, and it's a concentric coil. One of the biggest things, and I learned this the hard way, is overlap. I would suggest overlap by a half a coil. It's a 5-inch coil, so you got to overlap, or you're going to miss stuff with those coils. I mean, it's you got to get in the center. But see, I've hit I talked about on the show a couple weeks ago. I got a V nickel at 15 inches with that thing, which is unheard of. I mean, it blew my mind because I kept on digging, I kept on getting the signal, Craig, and I'm like, man, how deep is this? It's got to be a piece of aluminum or a tin can or something. It's coming through. It's just that loud, and eventually I got down there and I pulled it out of the ground, and it was just sitting in the perfect spot. I got the coil over just perfectly to hear the signal to begin with, but it was 15 inches down in the ground, old V nickels. I mean, it's just, every dog has its day as far as coils. So usually a smaller coil like that, I mean, I would think, and I can't remember what I did on testing wise, but probably 6 inches away from the coils, probably on the small coil, concentric coil like that. But you got to overlap. If you're using a double D coil, you don't have to overlap by as much. But then again, you're not going to have the ability to pick through a trashy or get in between targets as well because of the way the signal goes into the ground. But yeah, definitely right. Go ahead.
You definitely can't pinpoint as well with a double D either.
It's kind of you got to move the coil around a little bit more. That's another thing I see, Craig, too, and this is mostly newer people to the hobby. They're motion detectors. The VLF are motion detectors. You got to be moving them. You can't move them so slow. Your detector's going to have a hard time working right unless you're in pinpoint mode, which would be annoying as crap. As far as you could do that. I mean, it's up to you. But I know when I've taught, my mom wanted to get into metal detecting and everything, and that was the first thing she was trying to go. She was going too slow. I'm like, Mom, you got to swing this. You got to move a little bit more than that. You got to swing back and forth, or your detector's not going to do anything really. Their motion, whereas pulse induction is a little different. Pulse induction you can move, but it's a different technology. And Craig and I really don't talk about pulse very much. I like the idea of pulse. I just never bought a pulse machine. I don't know, where I deal with so many trashy areas. I like to have discrimination and stuff. But I
wouldn't mind getting one, but they're kind of pricey.
Well, yeah, to get a good one. I mean, some of these, pulse induction, what is like a GPX 5000 by MindLab is probably about $4,500. I'm guessing off the top of my head it was. I mean, I've seen them as high as that GPZ was, original price was $12,000. I mean, you can get some lower, like the TDI from White's or the Infinity from Garrett. I'm trying to think of just a few more. But Craig, I don't know. I like having that ability to have some discrimination in the way that I hunt, but have a good enough VLF detector that has the depth. And that's where the Bliss tool came in so much for me anyways, that, just an extreme depth that I can get with that. And, just as much as a TDI, if not more. I mean, we did some, Ahmed did some test videos, comparison kind of things between the TDI and the GPX and Bliss tool and several others. But that's one thing that had sold Craig and I on that detector from the very beginning was the extreme depth, but you had really, really good discrimination with it. You could discriminate out iron very well. Mineralization wasn't a problem. And just performance-wise, still, I mean, there's nothing that can really beat it, as far as I'm concerned anyway. But, now we're getting into these newer detectors that have a lot of these abilities, maybe not the depth part of it, but they, like the Equinox is doing really good. The Quest Pro is doing good. The Deus, the new programming for the Deus. And that's the advantage those detectors have, is because they can rewrite programs, Craig. You're getting a whole new detector. I mean, it never used to be possible prior to I can't remember if the E-Track or the CTX was the first one to have like interactive, or was it Deus, where you could plug it into your computer and re-download stuff or whatever, reprogram it. Or the company.
I guess the Deus might have. I don't think anybody was doing it before Deus, but
yeah, I was thinking CTX did it after that, but
it's like with the Equinox. I downloaded a program into it after I got it that improved the meter and the pinpointing.
And that's really you don't have to buy a new detector like we used to have to do. If you wanted different.
Well, when I got the Equinox and I was using it, I noticed that it's got these little shovels that go down on the right side of the screen on how many inches. Basically each little shovel's about 2 inches, and I noticed it, and it was supposed to go down as far as 4 or 5 shovels, I believe.
Right.
And but I never got more than 2 shovels, and I got a couple of targets, like I got this big token that was 10 inches deep, and it just didn't read the depth on it. It was still reading like 2 bars on it, 2 shovels.
Right.
And I saw there was complaints about it wasn't IDing on the meter on some silver coins on edge, which is a tough thing for any detector to do. But after the software update, I went out and I was hunting, and I noticed that I was getting 4 and 5 bars on a lot of stuff. It definitely improved it. I mean, it was a very good update. So
right.
Who knows what they're going to update down the road.
I just think it's so cool that you can just hook up, do firmware updates. Even a lot of the electronics now, like my drone, the Spark, you can, firmware updates. The Quest, you can do, and I do it every once in a while because they've actually rewrote some programs. And by the way, I think it was Brandon on here this morning was asking me about the Quest Pro, a review or whatever that I did. The reason that's not up on Series Detecting site is because it was something about they weren't going to be shipping the detector into the U.S. anymore. I don't know if they are or not. I haven't talked to Evan, but I had done one for him. Go ahead, Craig.
They have violated a whole bunch of patents from MindLab.
Oh, did they?
I think also with maybe Technetics. And they had a big lawsuit. MindLab sues everybody, just to try to knock down the competition, I think. But
yeah, well.
But anyway, they went after Quest, and they've gone after some other ones, but with it was called the Technics, and they had a big court case, and they ended up the Technics had to change their name to Quest.
Really?
And it got so where now they can't sell in the United States at all.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I know that Evan has a few of the machines because it was prior to that ruling, whatever. But roundabout way, I made the videos for him. He put the Quest 20 and the Quest 40 up on there. And then when I did the Quest Pro, he didn't. But I do have the video. I mean, I could send it to you privately or whatever. all you have to do is send me your email address or private message your email address, and I'll send it through Dropbox or something. I think I have it on there still to let you watch it.
You might be able to get them through like eBay or Amazon. I don't know, but
well, I see them on there, but
they're very good machines. I mean, they work, and there's some good reviews on them. But
I could ID a 9-inch dime, and it says 9-inch, 10-inch dime. It'll read up the depth gauge, which I really don't use, but it shows the ability of the machine to be able to. The VDI numbers and everything are pretty accurate. And the recovery delay is super fast. It's like a Deus as far as, the speed of recovery delay, letting go one target and grabbing the next. I think I still use it. I mean, Evan, told me to keep it. And I've been using it out there. And, I hit stuff with it all the time. I mean, it's not a bad machine if you can get your hands on one. Well, like Craig said, it's probably like the Equinox in a way. I don't think there are a lot alike, Craig. Maybe it's the programming inside of them.
I think it's more like a Deus sort of the way it's set up.
I like the way the detecting shaft is. It's like a rounded square shaft, and they got these these cam locks on it, and it shrinks down to like 20. I want to say it's 22.5 inches. The only thing I ever had a problem with design wise was the arm cuff. And it's because they have this little bitty screw that holds the arm cuff on. I could never figure out why they put that on there. But it doesn't affect the performance at all. I mean, obviously, you just put a bigger screw in there. That's all I did. But solid machine. I mean, it passed every test I put it through. And I do the same test with any review I do on a metal detector. I leave this stuff, or I put the stuff in the same depth and everything for all of them, because it's like a comparison in a way. It's letting you know what the standard is, so to speak. So I'd bury a dime at 7, 8, 9, 10 inches, and and then I do a recovery delay test, and then I do the as far as the different items, the tones and stuff, and how accurate the depth is on it. As far as the depth gauge, telling you how deep a target is. I try to keep everything the same across the board. That way, people can't say that, well, you're doing this different, and it's not fair. So if I do everything the same on every detector, well, it gives you an idea anyways of what the performance is using the basic settings, because I don't go crazy with settings, pretty much whatever the presets are. I mean, other than the ground balance, that's about the only thing that I do change is the ground balance, because I got to ground balance the detector. So, but, Craig, we're actually, we're out of time right now for the show today.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, so like so many times, man, I have a problem coming up with names for the shows. I guess I should just go, season 1, episode 2 or whatever. I don't know, because, so many of these things, Craig, I mean, it just, you can go on and on about, settings or trashy sites or what to do and coils. And it's awesome, I think, because it's such a good, interesting topic anyways. But we'll do more shows like this. And we'll just continue on with them. I mean, we may talk about settings on Monday morning again, but there's so many different combinations and situations where you need to use different settings. Trash areas is one of them. So we'll talk more about that. Thanks for listening, guys. We had, Peter Beaufoy on this morning, Ohio Relic Hunter. Bob D was on, Brandon. And I saw let's see where, oh gosh darn it, I'm the worst. Oh yeah, the Yard Fact Diggers. I like that name. But yeah, he's on chat. All of them are, and we always have different. Gavin McGregor, of course. Gavin's always on. And it's neat because they actually have conversations going on while we're talking about stuff, so we're all kind of talking together anyway. Just getting Craig and me to keep up with chat as we're talking is kind of hard. So
yeah.
But thanks for listening, guys. Be sure to check out our Facebook page, Hardcore Metal Detecting. We're on Instagram. Craig takes care of that. And, check out the Patreon, Hardcore Metal Detecting page. We're looking for supporters and stuff. Let me know what you think of that page. If we can change some stuff, we'll be adding to it. I mean, we're not going to take anything away from it. We're just trying to get started with that thing and figure out how this works and how we want to make it work to help others also. That's what Craig and I've always wanted to do anyways. We like to teach. We like to, show people how to metal detect, and, the more experienced ones just go out there and have fun, go out there and detect, and styles are all different. We're always learning from each other anyway. So, we wanted to make a kind of a central location to eventually be able to do that. In our goals, that's, Craig and I like traveling. We like, detecting different areas. It's a challenge for us as relic hunters to be in, different soil types, different situations, and kind of like hone our skills, so to speak. But at any rate, I guess Craig will knock off for now, and we'll talk to you all on Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll have our regular hardcore metal detecting show. So thanks for listening, guys. Have a great morning. Be safe. Get out there, dig if you can, and God bless.